Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our first session of iDTX 2022. And I've got Echo down the line already. Tom must sort out his setup before the next session. So this first session, I'm really looking forward to it because I'll happily put my hand up and say I am totally guilty sometimes of writing Rise off as I don't really want to use that tool because it looks X, Y, and Z way. And when you see what Nicole's about to share with us, I think it's going to change a lot of opinions about what Rise can be from a design perspective. So without further ado, I will get the heck out of the way and hand over to Nicole. Over to you.
Thank you, Tom. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being at the session today. Really super excited to be here. And thank you, Tom, for this opportunity, and also Tom for volunteering to be my screen sharing chief officer today. So I really appreciate that. Tom, screen sharing duties, please. If we could see the slide deck. Thank you so much for that. Prompt as ever. Appreciate it. So I'm here today to talk to you about a Rise course that I created not so long ago, and there are still some bits and bobs that I need to finish off in the course, but it's pretty much there. And but before I start, hello from Melbourne, Australia, everybody. And a little bit about me. I'm a graphic designer by trade, and I started in the L&D industry, maybe 10, 12 years ago. I was working as a freelance graphic designer for a very small private training organisation, and I happened to walk past the training coordinator who was getting started in e-learning for that organisation, and he was getting started with an LMS called Moodle. And I just sort of stuck my head over his shoulder and said, hey, is there something I can do to help you with that, with some graphics and that sort of thing? And here we are today, and I'm in the L&D industry, working as a content developer. So here today to talk about Rise, and there are 5 things that I've recently explored with Rise, and I'd love to share them with you here today. I've recently shared the Rise course with some colleagues in LinkedIn, and also some fellow content developers here in Australia. They were super excited about what they saw with the course, so they were really encouraging me and really supportive to share it with the wider L&D community. So here I am today. So next slide, please. Actually, I think I can do that, Tom. Yeah, great. So the Rise course, a little sneak peek for you all before we actually go over to Rise and have a deeper look. You can see the Rise course there on the left-hand side of the screen. There we go, there with my little pointer. And while you have a little sneak peek of the screen on the left-hand side, I'll tell you a little bit about the organisation that I work for. And then we'll look at the we'll look at the Rise course that I've created, which is a traffic management course, and we'll have a little look at that course. And while we're looking at the course, I'll take you through 5 different blocks in Rise, and Rise is comprised of various blocks. For those who might be new to Rise who are watching this today, there are 5 things that I sort of took a different angle or took a different perspective and tried to think a little differently to explore what Rise could achieve. And then we'll finish off with some reflections and learns and some takeaways that I had as a result of creating this Rise course. So the organisation that I work for is the Victoria State Emergency Service. We're a government-based organisation, and as the name suggests, we are an emergency service. There is about 200 staff, paid staff, and we have 5,000 plus volunteers across the state of Victoria, here in Australia, in the southeast pocket of the country. And those 5,000 volunteers are all over, all parts of the state. And they're an amazing group of people who are 24/7, 365 days a year, there for their local community in times of flood, landslide, storm, tsunami, and earthquake. So tip my hats off to them. They're a very special bunch of people, and I feel very honoured to be able to be a part of the training team that develops training content for them. Okay, Tom, shall we go over to the RISE course now, please?
Oh, there's not currently a screen share enabled to the RISE course. Nicole, if you could just share that from the bottom, I'll add it on.
No problem. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Tom. Before we have a look behind the scenes of the course, what I'd like to do is give you a little sneak peek of a couple of the modules. So let's go ahead first of all and go into the very first module. And I'll just scroll the screen down a little way. And being a graphic designer, I can't help myself but try and lift things visually as well and as possible as I can. So I'm just scrolling down the screen, and hopefully there's not too much of an internet lag that you can see the different blocks appearing in front of you. And what I've done here is use some GIF animations in the RISE course just to give a bit of light and movement and color to an otherwise static space. Okay, let's have a look at another module super quick. Here I've used a video and just some animations again. And here a transcript of what the video recording is saying. I'll keep sliding down. Some more graphics, some more GIFs, etc., etc. Okay, so let's turn our attention behind the scenes of the course now, and I'll go through those 5 things that I tried to think a little differently when approaching a RISE course in its development. And because I am a content developer, and that's my passion, I'm not a trained instructional designer, and I'm learning bit by bit as I go. So this talk is from a visual perspective. I'll hit the edit button. That might help. And then I'll edit module 1. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to speak to you today was the use of images in this particular course. And the 2 types of images here that you see on screen are centered image as well as full width. So the clouds that you see at the top, and I'm just using my mouse over the side here, you'll see it's centered, an image centered. And if I hit the edit button there, you'll see that there is the image, and then under the settings, I don't have any padding, just so that means that things squish up nicely together. And because it's a centered image, on either side of that image, I've used the same color as the sky in the centered image, just to give that illusion or to trick the eye that it is a full width image. Moving down a little bit, here I've used a subheading, and in the subheading, I'm deviating from pictures a little bit, I'm sorry, but just to quickly say, very light in the padding, but the background color is the same as the sky, just to, again, to give that illusion. So as the eye moves down, here to give a little bit of space, I've used a paragraph, and that paragraph again has the same background color. The helicopter, again, is a centered image. And moving down a little further, we've got the graphic with the cars on the road, and that's a full width image. So just to go back up just a little bit, under the centered image here with the helicopter, if I hit the edit button and go to settings, there was just one thing that I wanted to say again. Oops, sorry, I'll go back to content. I'm jumping around. I do apologize. Under the edit button, the crop image was my friend as I was developing and designing this course. The image width is 1,336 width, and the height is 768. So I brought that image in at that size with the height, just so that I could play around a little bit with the cropping, just so I could get the image right in the RISE course. moving down a little further, we've got the full width image. And just one thing I wanted to say, as the learner goes through and scrolls down this particular course, the images slowly come in. They was what Rise does. So what I did to make sure that there wasn't any white space when the learner came in, by using the same color, if I hit settings here, the same color of the road in the image is the same color behind the scenes. So it's not a white stark space that the user sees as they scroll down. They do slowly get those same colors that come through as the images start to appear. The next area that I'd love to show everybody today, and number 2 of thinking differently with Rise blocks, is this particular piece of information, or this white area, is in fact a tab interaction. And typically when you create a tab interaction, Rise will give you 3 tabs to start off with. What I did here was actually rip out all of the information that was there. Rather than talking about it, why don't I show you? I'll hit the edit button there. So as I was just saying, typically you would have 3 items to play with just out of the box, but I removed the 2 items and just stayed with 1. And at the top here, I removed the title. And then the formatting bar was my real friend, using that formatting bar to make font larger, bold, italicize, lots of space in between, white space as well, just to give a bit of relief when learners are going through the content. And then I added an image at the bottom, and the size of that image again was 1,336 by 768. Please don't feel that you have to remember these height and widths that I'm giving you. I will show them to you at the end on screen of the presentation. The other piece, a real learn that I had, is often with in an interactive tab like this, the text on screen, any text that follows underneath will inherit the formatting of what's above. So what I found to be my friend, I've just got a little dot there. As you see under the align area, you can actually stop the alignment, and that seems to give a clear break. So that means that any formatting that happens after that stop will mean that you can go ahead and have whatever sort of alignment or bold or whatever you'd like to do at that time. And again, just coming back to images, I'll hit the edit button and you can see that I did crop this image again. And again, having the height that it is, I could, when it actually came into the Rise course, I could play around with what looked best for that particular tab. Yes, because I took the headings across the top, there is some white space there, but the user feedback that I've had to date, everyone seems to be forgiving, and no one's actually noticed or asked the question, why is there so much white space there? So I think I got away with that one. The third area that I'd love to discuss with you today, or talk about today, is the use of Rise storyline blocks. So I'm just hitting the plus button now, and then you can see block templates. So when I got the interactive tab presentation the way that I thought worked really well, I created a block template out of it. And then next module or further down the page, I would just come into the block template and I would put that empty block or that empty interactive tab in the formatting that I wanted. So it was ready to go for new content. So in a way, I was just already set up, and I was just a matter of copying and pasting the content in that came from the instructional designer or came from any content that I'd written. And the other lovely thing that I've learned about block templates as well is what I have been doing with my live Rise course, and I'll have a side-by-side sandpit course where I can do some testing or design or try out some ideas. And if I'm happy with that finished result in the sandpit course, I will then use the Rise block, and the Rise block almost becomes a copy and paste. It will lift that particular block and bring it into the live course. So the other wonderful thing about block templates as well is that you can, with anyone in your Articulate team, you can share those blocks across the team as well. So it's a really great thing. The third thing that I wanted to talk about today was the use of GIFs. And the GIFs that we have here on this module, in module 1, I've used a 3-column grid. And with that 3-column grid, I created my GIFs at an 800 by 800 height and width. And I'll talk a little bit later on about how I created those GIFs and the workflow behind it. But I just found that GIFs are really great. And there's something that I'm really enjoying more and more, bringing GIFs into Rise as well as Storyline as well. So let's go and have a look at a different module now. Let's have a look at module 3. And just so you can have a little peek at this particular module, I'll slowly slide down the screen. Again, we've got centered images. Oh, and at the very top here, I used a gradient image from Adobe Illustrator. And at the very point where the full width image finishes here, it's the same color as the centered image just below, just so again, it kind of fools the eye that there's that seamless transition from outer space down to the clouds and below. Another full width image here. Again, some tab interactions, image. And these dotted lines here, they are again a part of my Rise block template use, just to help with the workflow. And that's a centered image as well. Oh, so while I'm here, I'm going to jump the gun a little bit and talk about the, I'll come back to my GIF in a little bit while we're here. The other item that I wanted to speak to you about was audio. And with audio, yes, Rise does have a really great audio piece. It really is simply a dot following a line. I wanted something a little more energetic, something a little more robust. So rather than using the Rise media block, what I've done is create a small video, and I'll just push the play button here. I hope you can hear anything, but you see the audio wave, the voice of the person, it's animated there. And I think that's a really nice visual lift to otherwise just seeing a dot follow a line. And I created this video using Adobe After Effects. And in a little minute, I will show you the steps or show you how I learnt to create that waveform to give that effect. Let's have another look at another module. This time we're in the rain. We've got a full width image. We've got a little relief from the rain here with a subheading. Another full width image. And then we're coming down into another GIF. And again, we've got a 3-column grid. But rather than having 3 GIFs, we've just got the one in the center to give the impression of the road. You're in a helicopter and you're looking down at the road. So let's edit that just to see how I achieve that. So because I'm a graphic designer, Adobe Illustrator is my go-to tool. The very first block is a static image, and then we've got the GIF in the middle, and then we've got the static block at the other side. And there is one part of the course where I've got an effect of looks like grass with a GIF in the middle, and on either side the grass is the same color as the background color to again give that seamless effect that it is just one big image. I'll slide down just a little bit further. Okay, here we go. Tom, could we please go back to the PowerPoint? Are you with me, Tom?
Yep, that should be there. It should be PowerPoint now on
I'm still seeing the Rise course. I'll have a sip.
Let me have a look. No, don't do that. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing the PowerPoint. If in the chat, oh, everyone in the chat's seeing the PowerPoint.
Great. Okay. Okay, thanks for that. So here we are back at the PowerPoint. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my personal workflow for creating the GIFs for the Rise course. The graphics, I use Adobe Illustrator, and then from Adobe Illustrator, I push the graphics out as a PNG. And then those PNGs go into Adobe After Effects, and it's where I do the animation, very simple animations, nothing really complicated at all, things that are nice and smooth. It's just really gentle on the eye. And then when I'm finished producing the After Effects, I push it or export it out as an MP4. And then that MP4 file goes into Adobe Photoshop. And after a few clicks of the button, that MP4 will become a GIF. And then it's from there, that GIF, I will then take it and put it into Storyline or Rise. A colleague, friend, Ridvan Saglam, reached out to me just recently, and he shared some of the ways that he enjoys creating GIFs for his work. And he brought, there is a plugin, the Animator Photoshop plugin for animated effects. I haven't personally seen it yet, but I'll take it on great authority from Ridvan. He's a very talented guy, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. But by no stretch of the imagination do I want to frighten anyone off from the workflow that I have. I'm self-taught in Adobe After Effects and Photoshop, and just in a jiffy I'll show you some YouTube videos that I used to get started. There are other colleagues in the industry who use Canva to create their animated GIFs, and there are some that even use PowerPoint. So you don't necessarily have to use the big guns or the big guys of Adobe to create some really nice looking GIFs. So some reflections and learns, as promised. Here written on screen are the image sizes, height and width, that I used throughout the course. The image centered, the full width was 1920 by 1020, the 3-column grid, and in tab interactive, the media that you saw just below each tab interactive, again, that was 1336 by 768. And I cropped the images as required. And as I was developing this course, I would put it through our LMS that we use at Victoria State Emergency Service and tested the course across various devices as well, iPads, iPhones, Samsungs, all that sort of stuff, just to make sure that everything was on track and looking good. I guess lessons learned, having been in the industry now and grown in the industry through using learning management systems, that it's always best to test rather than waiting to the final product and then handing it over, only to find that, anyway, I'm sure we've all been there. Further reflections and learns. The YouTube tutorials that got me started and helped bring this Rise course that I've presented today to life. A fellow Australian by the name of Ben Marriott, I highly recommend that you take a look at his Learn After Effects in 10 Minutes beginner tutorial. It's like the 3-minute workout, right? But I feel quietly confident that if you take a look at his 10-minute video, you will feel empowered to maybe get a trial copy of After Effects and start to have a look around and not be intimidated. It's not as hard as it looks. If I can do it, anybody can. And Melissa Milloway, who's quite famous in the L&D circles, especially on LinkedIn, I learnt through her video how to create an animated GIF and add them to Storyline through YouTube tutorials. So yes, her YouTube tutorial is specific to Storyline, but the same steps apply for Rise. And the speaking audio wave that I showed as an MP4 rather than using just a standard slip along audio bar, please, I recommend that you check out Motion Array tutorials. the video that I used to actually create the wave that you just saw was how to create an audio spectrum in Adobe After Effects. How are we going for time? Some quick inspiration. People have reached out to me on LinkedIn and say, hey, where does your inspiration come from? How do you do what you do? Typically, I will look beyond L&D circles for design ideas, and that's websites, TV commercials, bus stop posters, Pinterest. I'll even take photos of cool looking posters that I see around my hometown of Melbourne, and then I'll put them in front of me and look, okay, what if I put this and this together? How would that look? And sort of really kind of think outside the box and get some design inspiration going. Also, Instagram, I follow UX_Spring. I highly recommend them. They post almost daily. I think as content developers, that we can really follow the lead of user experience and user interface designers, because the layout, the spacing, the white space, the color combinations, I think that we've got a lot in common. And thank you everybody for your attention today. And again, thank you, Tom, for helping me with the slide sharing. Thanks, guys.
Hey, well, thank you so much for that. I thought that was awesome. So much to take away from that, and we do have some questions.
Yeah, please.
So let me grab those and tell it. Let me maybe that approach will work better. Yep, there we go. So let's go in order. John asks, how does this Rise course scale on a mobile device? Does it crop the sides, especially on the road scenes?
The testing, thanks for your question, John. The testing that I've done, everything looks okay. And I've been using standard devices. One thing that I did find that if the browser is not at 100%, some of those images can slightly lose the top of trees or the top of cars. So I am mindful of that as I was working through the course, just to make sure that I was checking those kinds of things. But yeah, great question. But always testing will show, of course.
Awesome. And Damien asks, how easy is it to get the background color to match the color in an image?
Thanks for the time, Damien. Using Adobe Illustrator, I use the color picker, so I get that hex number, and then from there I use that same hex code or number and make sure that it's the same one that goes into the background color of your Rise course. It depends on the screen. There might be a very slight, but I think you'd really need to be a trained eye to actually pick if there is a slight difference between.
Most of us aren't sat on color calibrated screens, right? We just we usually just accept what we get, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question. London. Richard, are GIFs accessible, alt text, etc.? I'm guessing that's more to do with the platform than it is the file format itself.
I need to put that question on notice, and I don't feel that I'm comfortable enough to give an answer to you there. But Richard, I'm happy to do some research and connect with you in this space, or include the answer in the PowerPoint slides that I'll make available to everyone, if that's convenient.
Awesome. That's I think that's always the sign of a good learning community, isn't it? When we go, let's find out.
Yeah, let's find out together.
I know that's certainly my catchphrase 5 days a week. And then will we receive the PowerPoint?
Of course.
Awesome. We'll arrange a way to disseminate that so that you don't get a billion emails from people asking for a PowerPoint, whether we come up with a central point here on the platform to download them or something. Brilliant. I've got some loads of really, really good comments coming in. Lots of people loving what it looks like. Great session. Fantastic. We are off to a really fantastic start after that. I think I'm actually looking forward to getting into Rise and maybe trying to do something a little bit different. So
Oh, Tom, if I could just say, do I have time?
Yeah, go for it.
You can, everybody who's here, you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm super keen to see if I've inspired anyone, and I would love to see what you may have created as a result of this talk. So you can find me on LinkedIn, and please feel welcome to reach out, bounce ideas. I really love to give back to our community, so please don't be shy. Thanks, Tom.
Well, fantastic. I think there's going to be lots of people taking you up on that offer,
Yeah,
myself included. So thank you so much for our first session. Everyone, we have a just short of a 15-minute break, and then we are back with practical tips to make microlearning effective with Sam Fahy. So thanks so much, and we shall see you all very soon.